Whenever you both are ready.
Okay, so we need to call this meeting to order or all that. Oh, geez, I forgot how to do this.
Oh, you've got the gavel, so you can go ahead and wrap the meeting to order.
All right. All right, I call this meeting to order of the Zionsville Economic Development Commission, or what we refer to as the EDC, Monday, April 26, 2021, 5:30. The commission today will conduct the public hearing in person and electronically via Zoom video conference as allowed by various executive orders of the governor of the state of Indiana to receive and hear remonstrance from persons interested in or affected by the proceedings described below. I'm assuming that anyone who has that, okay. Since I've called the order, I'll recognize attendees who request to be noted. Anyone like to be?
Mr. Russ, do we have anybody online who? So we can note for the record that Mrs. Sally Zalonis is in attendance.
Sally, thank you for joining us. The next agenda item is the election of officers. I believe we have 3 people on this commission, correct? One of which is not here, 2
Correct.
of which are here in person. So do I need to hear a motion to elect?
Well, you could go through
president
you could
and-
create a slate
Okay,
if you so desire,
Okay.
and just make one motion on that entire slate.
okay. So I would, the slate that I would create would be Mark Plasman as president and Amanda Cecil as secretary, as instructed. And I would make a motion that we accept that slate as described. Is that fair enough?
And certainly if Miss Heather James is on the line, if there's any guidance specific to any other officers that this body would need for purposes of execution of the documents associated with today's agenda item, certainly we can look for that guidance.
No, I'm comfortable with the motion as stated.
Very good.
So hearing that motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All opposed? Hearing none, sounds like our motion is carried, and Mark Plasman will be president. Amanda Cecil will be our secretary, and we don't need to mention our third, correct?
Certainly when you meet again, if you so choose to wait until then to elect any other officers that you might need, that's certainly appropriate.
Okay, great. All right, having completed that portion, we'll address the new business that we're here for. And it's for the purposes of a public hearing and consideration of a resolution approving the Appaloosa Crossing EDC financing and the substantially final form of related bond documents. So with that said, do we need to run through any of these documents?
I would certainly look for Miss Heather James. If there's any specific you need to know, certainly your financial advisors are online as well. I think provide that any specifics that you might need to know.
Okay, thanks, Wayne. Can everybody hear me okay?
We can.
Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, so before you this evening is a resolution approving the financing of the Appaloosa Crossing project. And what I'd ask you to do is first hold your public hearing and then consider adoption of that resolution. And so everybody is aware, the resolution makes the necessary statutory findings regarding economic development and jobs. And it also does approve the substantially final form of the bond documents, which include the trust indenture with the bond trustee that lays out the flow of funds and the use of the bond proceeds, the financing agreement with the developer that includes the necessary covenants, and the bond purchase agreement with the bond purchaser. And the other thing that the resolution does that is of particular importance is that it recommends that the council pass the bond ordinance. And that bond ordinance was already introduced at the council's last meeting. And then we're looking to go to their next meeting for them to consider approval of that ordinance. So in this case, the bond purchaser and the developer are one and the same. And that is my preferred financing structure because it shifts the risk away from the town. And to the extent the project that the developer is responsible for building does not create the amount of assessed value that they expect it should create, then they, as the bond purchaser, simply bear the risk that the TIF will be sufficient to pay them back for them to get the full benefit of their bargaining. So after you hold the public hearing and consider adoption of this resolution this evening, then the redevelopment commission is also meeting this evening to consider adoption of a resolution pledging TIF to the repayment of these bonds. And that is TIF generated in the 146th Street allocation area. So after this body meets, the redevelopment commission meets, and the council meets, then we would walk towards a execution of a bond purchase agreement and then closing about 2 weeks thereafter. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
And as far as the use of the bond monies, nothing's changed there as far as what the purpose of those monies are gonna be used for.
Right, it's all for the infrastructure surrounding this actual project.
Both on property as well as adjacent to roads, sidewalks, things of that sort that developer may not even own, but will serve for.
That's correct. Everything needs to be in or physically connected to the area. So yes, it's all right there in that general geographic location.
Do we know what the interest rate is on the bond?
Yes, it's a negotiated interest rate with the purchaser. Tim, Becca, do you know off the top of your head?
I'm starting my video. Becca Zakowski with Crow. We're serving as municipal advisor for the town on this bond. The interest rate, as Heather mentioned, is negotiated. Right now, we're looking at a 4% rate.
Okay. Thank you for asking our questions. Unless, Amanda, do you have any?
No, I really don't. I thought it was very well written and
So for the purposes of the public hearing, what's my next step?
You could simply open the public hearing and then let anybody that would like to speak at the public hearing do so. If nobody is present to make any comment, then you can simply close the public hearing.
So at this time, I would open the meeting for the public to address any questions, concerns about our meeting here today. As I understand it, we only have one person who's acknowledged that they are online at this time. So if that person has any questions, I'll allow a minute or two to hear those. Okay. So hearing no questions.
And certainly no questions, no hand raised from the attendee. I would note that you did receive one emailed in question from actually a Zionsville resident. And we answered those questions, or at least I have not heard any response back indicating there are additional questions. And so I believe you have that email for your record. But I think we took care of that.
Okay.
For your record.
All right. So hearing that we have heard no questions from anyone who is either attending and or online, and acknowledging that we have answered the one question that was sent to us via email, I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Next step. Heather, is there a next step that you want us to follow here?
Yes, now if you could consider adoption of the resolution, please.
Is that a resolution in front of us? I'm sorry.
It is in your packet of information, and numerically, we would just call this resolution 2021-1.
Okay.
So I'd make a motion that we approve the 2020-1 resolution of the town of Zionsville, Indiana, taxable and economic development revenue bonds. I don't know how you want me, how else you want me to describe that? All in favor?
Does it need a second?
And I would just, for clarity of the record, since I know masks are a little obscuring of words, the resolution number is 2021-1.
2021. Okay, so I make a motion that we approve resolution 2021-1 of the town of Zionsville, Indiana, taxable economic development revenue bonds.
Can I second? And then we'll call for a vote.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Having heard no opposition, I'm assuming we have an approved resolution.
Yes.
Am I doing okay?
Yes, thank you all.
I don't sound as eloquent as some people have up in this position, but I'm
No, you
trying.
were doing just fine, Mark.
All right, so are there any other next steps as far as,
I don't know if that there's any
Motion
other
approved.
business. I'll defer to Wayne. I assume there's not. And if there is no other business, then I think you could go ahead and move forward with adjournment.
Wayne, is there any other business that you want us to,
No other business, you're free to adjourn.
okay? I'd ask that we now adjourn this meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Meeting so adjourned. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you again.